I guess Chrome crashed. Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay, the recording just began. Over to you, Mark.
Okay. I'll have to reset up a couple of things here. Okay, so first of all, thank you, Avi, for inviting me to speak today. I'm very happy to be here with all of you. I'm going to tell you about a code lab that I built around an app I had made recently. So this is from some slides on this app. And so if you're interested in hearing more of that story, if you go to mco.fyi/GenAI, you can find these slides, and I'll share that through Avi later. But just to give you sort of the backstory on this app, way back in 2016, this is an actual screenshot from a Google document I had written at that time. I was proposing an interactive trivia quiz game, which was supposed to be a web game based on trivia quizzes, not unlike some of the ones you probably use once in a while. I never quite got around to doing it, as many of my projects go. But earlier this year, when we sort of experienced this AI revolution, I got inspired to kind of dust it off and try to really make it a reality, because of the fact that generative AI suddenly made it possible to solve the problem of sourcing the trivia quizzes in a big way. Like, not just to have a great repository, but have sort of an infinite repository. I call it, in fact, infinite trivia. And so I came up with this app called Quizaic, and pronounced like mosaic. And what I'd like to do today is show you how you can contribute a quiz generator to the existing app that I've built. So maybe a quick demo will help to give a sense of what this app looks like when I'm actually using it. So it's out there now at quizaic.com. I log in with this. I would normally click this and log in, but I'm already logged in, and through cookies, it's remembered that I'm authenticated. And I can browse through quizzes. I can create a quiz. Now, when I create a quiz, I give it a title. Let's say cricket. I choose a generator. I'm going to go with Google's Palm model, and I'm going to say cricket. Now, I know from previous experience, if I say cricket, it doesn't know I mean the sport. It thinks I mean the insect. So I'm going to say cricket sport. And then I can say, let's do 3 questions. I can give it a difficulty level and a language. And there's my quiz being generated. So I get this sort of progress indicator telling me it's working on it. And in addition to generating the quiz, it generates a little thumbnail image using AI right there. And if I go to edit, I can actually see the questions. I don't know if this is any good. Which bowler has taken the most wickets in Test cricket? I know almost nothing about cricket, so maybe you can tell me, if anyone can tell me in the chat if this is a good question or not. But the idea is you can actually play these quizzes now, where I see 1 thumbs up. That's good to know. Where you enter the pin, or actually I can go to the quiz itself and I can say host. I'm not going to try to run the quiz right now, because for the moment, I just want to give you a sense of how the app works and what it looks like. But you get this nice QR code. People can connect there and register to play the quiz. I can start the quiz, and it'll go through the questions and keep a score, all the things we usually would expect from an app like this, with the results, histogram, and leaderboard, and so on. So that's a very quick demo of what the app looks like and feels like. Now, what we're going to try to do today is actually have you build part of the app, because when I create a quiz, I specify a quiz generator. So I've got this sort of modular componentry behind the web app, which is responsible for generating the quiz. And these quizzes are all kind of built in. These generators are all built right into the app, but I've recently added a capability of adding a custom generator. And when you choose a custom generator, you specify a URL, and that makes a web request to this generator where it asks it to generate a quiz based on the criteria you've specified in this form. So what you're going to do today is you're going to build your own quiz generator using GenAI, and you're going to actually deploy your generator on Cloud Run and make it publicly available. And then you're going to come into my app and configure your URL and create a quiz using your generator. So that's the flow. Let's then get started. So let me bring up I lost my code lab because my browser died on me for some unknown reason, but let me bring it up here. Okay, sorry about that. Let's now go to the console. So we'll start right at the beginning in the intro. You'll notice that to take a step back, I'm not going to read through everything. I'm not going to explain everything in the code lab because we won't be able to do that in the time allotted. But I'll try to kind of walk through the lab, explain all the highlights. And my email is mco, M-C-O, at google.com. Maybe Avi or someone can put that in the chat. If you run into a problem doing this on your own, feel free to reach out to me and I can help. You'll see in the intro page where it says what you need. You just need a web browser, Chrome browser, preferably a Google account, and a cloud project with billing enabled. The JSON formatter that's mentioned there is actually not strictly needed, but it's helpful. So I'll leave that up to you if you want to install that. Then we go to setup, and I'm going to work through this with you, actually. So let me open a different browser profile, and I'll go to the console. And I'm going to create a brand new project, just like you will. Or you may use your own project that you've already created, but I'm going to create one called Code Vipa.
Mark, just one request from the chat. If you can maximize your browser properly. Yeah.
Or I'll make the
font size too. Yeah.
Font bigger as well.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for that. So this is in my new project now. And what we're going to do is start the Cloud Shell. So up here in the upper right, I'll click Activate Cloud Shell. And that will give me an interactive command line processor. Now this should start everything up that you need for your environment. Make this bigger as well. But to be sure you've got your environment set the way you expect, go ahead and do gcloud auth list. It may come up with an interstitial like this asking you to authorize Cloud Shell, which is fine. And you should see the key here is this line account. That should look like the account that you would expect that you're logged in, the Google account that you're logged in with. You'll also want to do gcloud config list project. And that will show you the project that you're set up to work with. And this should match the project you're expecting to work with. In this case, I just created this new project called Code Vipa, and the project ID is the one with the numbers appended 407414, and that matches what I see in my command output. The next thing we'll want to do, as you'll see at the bottom of the setup page, is you'll want to enable the APIs that you're using. So I'm just going to copy paste that from my code lab, and you can see that the user project billing not found. Great. Okay, let's go to a different project. Okay. Looks like I probably better use a different project. Let me go to my Gmail account. Sorry, hopefully you're enabling your project while I'm messing around here, trying to get my own setup going. Okay, I'm going to run this in the Quizaic project itself. So it's not going to be quite as authentic as the experience you'll see with a brand new project, but for the sake of time and not having you watch me try to debug things, I'm just going to jump right into this project, which should be all set. So you'll have enabled these APIs, which I've already enabled on this project. And I think the next step we'll do is step 3, which is prompting. If anyone gets stuck along the way, go ahead and leave a comment, and one of my colleagues will jump in and help as best they can. I'm just waiting for Cloud Run to get set. And on step 3, actually, you can do this while I'm waiting for my Cloud shell. I said Cloud Run, I meant Cloud shell. Okay, so gcloud config list. Yes, authorize. I just want to make sure. Got my account, and account looks right and project looks right. Okay, so we're all set there. Okay, so for step 3, prompting, programming in natural language, we're going to actually create a prompt to generate these quizzes. So what we'll do is we'll go up to the navigation menu and we'll select Vertex AI. And I am sure you've seen Vertex before in this series, but it's Google's kind of platform for doing cloud-based AI development and machine learning work. Within this tab, I'm going to navigate over to Generative AI Studio, and then I see options for language, vision, and speech, and I'm going to open language. This is going to give me access to this generate text. So I can use this part of the studio to either do a conversation, experience a conversation with a bot, kind of a chatbot type entity, or to just do interactive text prompting or code prompting. So I'm going to choose text prompt. And what I want to do now is to generate a prompt that causes the underlying model to create a quiz, a trivia quiz. Now, the trivia quiz I want to be multiple choice. I want it to have some number of questions. In this case, the example in the code lab is 5. I want 4 responses per question, a difficulty level of intermediate, and language English. So these are the criteria or the requirements on the quiz. So what I'd like you to do in a minute is to actually try your hand at writing a prompt that will sort of meet those requirements. Before we go there, though, I want to explain what we're looking at on the right-hand side. So the region tells Vertex AI where we want this model to run. The model gives us a selection of a bunch of different models. Some of these are defined specifically for generating code. Others are different generations or different sizes of existing models. I'm just going with text Bison, and that's the latest model I have available here. Temperature, I'm sure knowing that you've been doing Gen AI things, you've probably seen these concepts before, but temperature gives the model a sense of how random you want the results to be and how reproducible you want the results to be. The closer you go to 0, the more kind of clinical, I guess, or cut and dry the model gets. And the further you go to 1, the more kind of creative and experimental it gets. That's kind of a subjective way of putting it. But it's really, you're saying give it more or less tolerance in terms of the probabilities for picking the next token that it's generating. Token limit is how many output tokens to generate. We'll leave that be. I moved the temperature up to 0.5 because I think that's a nice match for a quiz generator, but you can obviously set that any way you like. And I'll take the default for these other things. These other values kind of fine-tune the function that the model uses for choosing the next token based on the highest probability generated units of text or tokens. So I'll take mostly the defaults here. And now go ahead and try your hand. I'm going to try as well. I'm going to say generate a trivia quiz. Let me make this bigger. I think I'll say generate a multiple choice trivia quiz with 5 questions, 4 responses per question about Indian literature. So I've given specific requirements in the code lab. You can actually choose anything you want for these because later on, we're going to templatize these values. We're going to substitute them at runtime for the actual user-supplied input. So you can hard code it, so to speak, right now, but whatever you choose for this example is not critical. So feel free to experiment. So I've got my very first prompt, and I'll scroll down on the right here and click the Submit button, and we can see what I get.
Mark, while it's loading, can you just copy paste your prompt to the chat so folks can see what you've entered and they can also repeat it?
Sure.
And just a quick check, everyone's following where we are in step 3 of the code lab. Show of thumbs, please. How many of you were able to get to this point? Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
So we have a quiz as we requested. It's five questions. This is quite interesting because I know that Tennessee Williams was the author of The Glass Menagerie. I didn't know he was Indian. Does anybody know if he was? This could be a hallucination, or it could be, I don't know much about Tennessee Williams. How about these other questions? Do they look reasonable? I guess it's hard to ask 100 people. But so it's kind of getting there, right? Interesting. Now, one thing I would like is the quiz looks good, but I need to parse this, right? My program's going to want to run this request and take the response and put it into some sort of a database of quizzes so that you can use it and play it. And when I initially wrote this app, I did what sort of the old-fashioned thing would be to do. The conventional thing to do would be get the quiz and then parse it using some Python code, right? So I would expect it to start with **1, and after the **1 dot, I would get the rest of the string and say, okay, the question is, which Indian author is known for his work, The Guide, and get rid of that **, that pesky *** at the end. Now, interestingly, you will run this through another LLM, and it won't have this same convention because I didn't really give it any guideline on how to format the quiz, right? So the ***s won't be there. And instead of A, B, C, D, it might say 1, 2, 3, 4 for the responses. So you can expect to spend a lot of time playing with your parser, and you'll never get it perfect because even the same model might change its response over time. These things are non-deterministic, right? So I finally got the brainstorm that why don't I just ask for the format I wanted in? And the format I wanted it in was JSON because that's a very convenient way to represent it in a NoSQL database, which is where I wanted to store it. And it's also just become like a multilingual, multi-programming language way of organizing structured data so that it's easily written and read and shared and stored and so on. So I want this in JSON. And so what I'd like you to do is to try your hand at creating a prompt that asks this quiz to be generated in JSON. And if you look at the code lab, you'll see the format that I'm looking for. It should be basically an array of questions, and each question should be an object. And each object should have 3 keys, one key being called question, that's the question. One key called responses, that's the list of responses. So that's a key whose value is a list, another array of strings, and one called correct, which is the correct answer for the quiz. And there should be a sequence of those. So what I'd like you to do is look at step 3 towards the bottom where I have this JSON representation, the one where it says who is the first person to walk on the moon, and see if you can take the quiz, the prompt that you've already used, and add to it to see if you can get the model to generate JSON, this JSON format. And I'm going to let you do that independently, and I'll play around with it here. You can sort of watch me, or you can do your own experimentation. There's like a million ways to do this, and that's kind of the cool thing about this. Is like and it's why I call it programming in English. You're basically, you have this feeling like you're talking to a human, and depending on how you express yourself, you will get closer or further to the ultimate target of what you're looking for. So I'm going to just start typing more. Yeah, that's JSON. It's a and I'll share this prompt, if it works, to the chat so you can have a look. So I've got one here, but keep working on your own. So mine looks reasonable. If you click this markdown slider, or I'm not sure what it's called, but if you slide that over, it will format the response in a nice human-friendly way. And so I can see I have a question, I have responses, which is a list or an array of strings, and I have correct, which identifies the correct answer. So it looks like I have something that seems to work reasonably well. This little bit at the front that says JSON, it says like 3 backticks in JSON. You can make that go away. The backticks at the end as well are sort of the terminator for that, that sort of quotation mechanism. You don't actually have to worry about that, because my Quizaic app, if I did it right, will throw this away for you, because I notice that happens once in a while, and I just built it into the app to be tolerant of it. One thing to note, actually, if you got this working, put a note in the chat so I can get a sense for how many folks are having success, or do a thumbs up like I saw Anush just did. Cool. Awesome. Looks like a lot of people were able to do that. Now, one interesting thing is, there, as I was saying, there's no one way to do this. So I did this with words. Another option would be to literally take my my JSON specification and copy it into the prompt and say, you know, this is the format I'm expecting it. I'm not using this currently. And the reason is I don't actually have a solid justification for this. It's more like a suspicion. The reason is I'm afraid my example might bias the model. So if I give it a certain question, and I give it that question over and over again every time, I'm afraid that might lead the model to do things that model this small number of examples in the JSON I give it. So I preferred to express it in English because I felt it was more generic than the specific example would be. But having said that, it probably works fine with the inline example, and feel free to experiment with that. Okay, so we've got our prompt. One last thing I want to show you is if you click in the upper right here, where you see it says view code, you get this nice Python code that you can copy right into a program, a file, and run it, and it works. So that's kind of nice to know about. You also can click Python Colab, and it'll show you how to take this stuff into a Colab, and you can use curl as well. What I'd like you to do is take your prompt and just copy and paste it somewhere. Send an email to yourself, put it in a file, just stash it away somewhere so that we can refer back to it later. But this is really the first big job we're done with. And let's switch gears now to step 4, in which we're going to build a web server. Now, you might be wondering, why do we need a web server? Where did that come from? Well, the reason is, as I said, I'm going to have this Quizaic app make a HTTP request to your service to generate a quiz. And so we need to put your logic inside of a server that will respond to this request. So we're going to start with a very simple web server just to kind of have a baseline. And so what I'd like you to do is at the top of the Cloud Shell, you'll see this Open Editor button over here. Click that, and that will create kind of an IDE, a VS Code-like IDE or development environment built right into the Cloud Console. Now you'll see this try the new editor. You might even get a pop-up urging you to do, or offering to sort of suggesting you do it. Don't do it just because the CodeLab was built with the current implementation. So don't try the new editor now, but at your leisure, feel free, of course. I'm going to delete this because I've done it already in this project, and I'll start over. So what we'd like to do first is create a directory within which to, or a folder within which to do all of our work. So what we will do is, let me see if I can find this step. Yeah, so we're going to click on the top level folder and say, or no, actually, sorry, we'll go File, New Folder, and we'll call it Quiz-Generator. And now we have a folder called Quiz-Generator. And now if we right-click on Quiz-Generator and say New File, I want you to create a file called requirements.txt. And that should be, if you do that right, it should be under the Quiz-Generator folder. If it's at the same level as the Quiz-Generator folder, then it means you created the file at the top level. But I want it to be under this folder. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So requirements.txt is, you probably know, is a standard file that Python uses to enumerate all the dependencies of a given program. And so we are going to tell our requirements file that it needs 3 dependencies. We're going to use Flask, which is a web server package built into Python. We're going to use gunicorn, which is a containerization utility that's useful down the road when we deploy this to Cloud Run. Don't worry about that one too much. And we're going to depend on the Google Cloud AI platform because we're going to want to do some LLM interactions programmatically. Okay, Now notice when I change this file, one thing I like about this editor is if I change it, it shows that little dot and then it immediately reverts to an X because it's auto-saving. It's by default, it's set up to auto-save. So you don't need to save the changes explicitly, which is fun, convenient. Okay, so let's now add one more file. And again, this needs to be under Quiz Generator. So I right-click on Quiz Generator, the folder, and I say New File, and I'm going to create a file called main.py. And I'm going to paste the contents of the Python program from the Code Lab step 4 into this file. Let's take a quick look at what this is doing. It's setting a port number from your environment variable. If it's not set, if you don't set the port environment variable, it defaults to 8080. And it's then creating a method. Let me move this down so you can read it better. Creating a method called sayHello. And by adding this, what's called in Python a decorator, it tells Flask, I want this function to be called whenever a request comes in, a GET request comes in, a certain type of HTTP request that's being routed to the path /, so the root of the URL. And then down here, I just have some sort of boilerplate stuff that runs the app. So very little actual logic here. The only real application logic is the sayHello function, which simply sets some HTML hello world as a heading in a variable called HTML and then returns that to the Flask environment, which essentially sends it back with a 200 OK to the caller. And so we can test this by opening up a terminal and running the command line. Actually, first, two things I need to do. First, when we open the terminal, we're at the top level of our Cloud Shell. So we want to first change to the folder we just created, which is Quiz Generator. And we can do an ls and see that the two files we just created are there. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we install those dependencies, right? So let's say pip3 install -r requirements.txt. And that's telling the system those three things I need, Flask, gunicorn, and Google AI, install them. And now we've got those installed, we're good to go. The next thing we want to do is run our app, that main.py app I just showed you, which prints hello world. Simplest web app in the world. We want to run it. Now there's a bug in the Code Lab I want you to be aware of. This dash here at the end of the command, it's like a double dash or a bad character in the Code Lab. I tried to fix this just before the session and I failed, so I apologize for this. But what you want to do is backspace over that and use --port space 8080. So basically replace that dash with two dashes, and that should start up your web server. Now let me just explain what this is doing. It's the app is saying the app argument is saying my app lives in main.py, which we just saw. -debug run tells Flask, I want automatic reload. So anytime I change any of the source files, in this case there's only one, main.py, automatically reload the app. And what that gives me is I can save a change and go visit the browser again, and it'll just instantly be ready to do the right thing, to give me the latest functionality. And then this port 8080, we're using 8080 because it's a convention that's going to be convenient down the road when we deploy to the cloud. So now that we've got our server running, you can go up here to web preview. You could actually click on this link, but that actually won't work, I think, because that will be a local connection on your laptop or whatever device you're on. So what you want to do is click on the web preview button and then select preview on port 8080. All of this is highlighted in the Code Lab. But as you can see, I get this hello world. Not surprisingly, that's all the app was meant to do. But we're actually running against this, this thing we just built. Now, do we trust that? Is it really true? Let's test it. What we'll do is we'll Control-C out of that server we were just running. And let's go and reload the the browser page, and it says unable to forward your request because we just killed the server. So let's restart the server and make sure it's running. There's our hello world. Okay, so now we have a server running, and it's going to stay up, and it's going to keep adjusting itself to our code every time we change it. So cool, we're ready to move on to the next step. In the next step, what we want to do, so you're seeing some code in step 5, which has the lines highlighted that have been changed. You can either change those lines manually or just copy paste the entire text into the main.py file, which is what I think I'll do. So I'm going to go back to my editor. Sorry, open editor. And I will replace it. Now, let me just highlight quickly what changed. Go back to full screen here. I've added an import for Flask request because we're going to actually now get something out of the URL and do something useful with it in this version. And instead of that say hello function, which did nothing but print hello world, we're going to call a generate function. And the generate function uses that request we just imported to get the arguments to the URL. Now, the arguments are what we call in URL language, we call query parameters. And so I'm sure you've seen those where at the end of a URL, you have a question mark that starts the query parameters. And then you have a sequence of name equal value settings where each name value setting is separated with an ampersand. Okay, so those get parsed on this line, the params equals, that gets turned into a Python dictionary, and then we can iterate through the dictionary and add those parameters to an HTML string. So this should print quiz generator with a heading and then each of the parameters. Let's try running that. And actually, we don't need to run the preview again because I have a tab already open, and you should too. You can just go there, and because of the auto reload, we can just refresh the browser, and we see the new output. And you can see we got by default when we visit this site through that through that button we clicked on, we get a couple of parameters that are put there automatically by the system. But let's add some of our own. So we add with the ampersand, we can say param1 equals val1, and let's do one more, param2 equals val2, and that needs to be an equal sign. And as you can see, it's doing what we expect. It's finding the parameters, for parsing the parameters correctly, and printing them out on the output page. So we now have a version of the app that understands what's coming in via the URL. This is going to be useful because we're going to want to tell the quiz generator the specification via URL. So the next step we want to do is to actually have it know about the values we care about. So the topic, the number of questions, the difficulty level, and the language. These are the 4 key ones that we care about. So did I explain that? Yeah, I did. I went through that code. So let's copy the next version, which is further down in step 5. And let's, again, either make the piecemeal changes or copy paste the entire thing. And let's look at what's changed. We've added some model specifications. Now, this is actually premature. There's another fix I need to add to the code lab. This isn't needed until the next step, but for now, you can sort of just ignore it. But this area here has changed and should be marked as such. This is where we specify the default values for the 4 parameters we care about. So by default, if you don't specify a topic, it's going to be assumed to be history. If you don't specify number of questions, it'll be 5, and so on. Difficulty level, intermediate, and language English. The rest of this looks similar. We're going to add a new function called check. And all check does is it takes a name and a default value. If the name is in the past arguments, meaning it's a query parameter in the URL, then return the value associated with it. If not, return the default. And so we can use that function here in this generate method. We can say get the arguments just like before, but instead of just putting the arguments in the output stream, we're going to parse the arguments, the 4 arguments that we're looking for. So look for topic, and if it's not there, use the default topic. Look for num questions. If not there, use the default, and so on. So now we have 4 very specific things we're going to be looking for and printing in this version. So let's go back to our quiz generator, and we see we get the defaults: history, num, questions 5, intermediate, and English. And now what we can do, these parameters are still here. They're really unnecessary. In fact, if I want to, I can just get rid of them off the URL, and I should get the same result. But I can also do question mark, which is what I need to start the parameters with. And I can say, let's change the topic to cricket. And let's do language Hindi. And as you can see, the topics reflected the new value and the language is reflected. So now we've gone from just being aware of and being able to see the query parameters to parse them and use them effectively in our program and ignore any ones that we don't care about. So yeah, feel free to play with that on your own. The next thing we want to do is to take those parameters and use them to format our prompt. Okay, so if you remember the prompt we created, what we're going to do is basically take that prompt, and wherever we speak about topic, we're going to templatize it with this open brace topic, close brace kind of syntax, which we use with Python F strings. So let me show you what I mean. Stop talking about it and show you what I mean. Going to do the same trick here. I'm going to replace the main.py with this contents, and then let's just take a quick look at it. So we have our default quiz settings that we had before. Now here's a prompt, and what I'd like you to do is put your prompt in here, the one that you saved from when we were playing with the console earlier. Here's my prompt, or one of my prompts, and all I've done actually for this prompt is I kind of took the specification from the code lab and copied it here. You may remember seeing this little bullet list, but where the topic was set to history and numq was set to 5, I've simply parameterized them by putting these open brace keyword closed brace values. So you definitely want to use those specific values, topic, num underscore q, because they're going to be referenced elsewhere in the code where it pulls the values out of the URL. But yeah, this should, I see a bug here actually, it needs to be a lowercase q. So this should be good. And then once you have put your prompt in there, you're going to also, sorry, I'm moving around too much here. You're also going to change the bottom of generator. After you've parsed these 1, 2, 3, 4 values, you're going to insert them into your prompt using the format function. So you'll say prompt.format. Prompt is simply the string that holds the prompt. I've made it uppercase. It doesn't have to be. Probably shouldn't be because it's not a constant. Well, I guess it is because strings are constants. Doesn't matter. You'll take the prompt variable, whatever you call it, and you'll say .format, and you'll substitute in for the 4 variables, topic, numq, diff, and lang. And then you'll take that and simply put it in HTML that you'll return. So we're not actually making use of the prompt with the LLM just yet. We're just about there, but all we want to do is just look at the prompt and make sure it's getting substituted properly. So as always, I can just refresh the browser and get this new version. And here I see it looks reasonable. Generate a quiz according to the following specifications and so on. And because I had said topic cricket and lang Hindi and the URL is still sitting there, I got that. And if I wanted to change this to French, I'll do that just to make sure it's working, and I get lang equals French. So hopefully you're seeing something like that. And now that you've got the prompt working, feel free to play around with the URL as I was just doing. But now we're sort of at the last stage where we can wire everything up to the Vertex client library. So in the next step, what we're going to do is I'm going to take the code from this step 7 and insert it back into main.py. And let's take a quick look at what's new here. Obviously, importing Vertex AI and text generation model is new. This response is also new. It's just another, it's a way to give a more nuanced response to a Flask request. Here's where the model settings become important. We set the model name, the max tokens, those things that you saw on the right-hand side when we were playing with the console, those are programmatically set here. The quiz settings, we should have lang equals English. Here's my prompt. It is actually a different prompt from the one I just had. So obviously have some a fix to add here. But yeah, you'll want to add the language to this. And let's take a look at this with keys question response is incorrect. Okay, that looks reasonable. The rest of this is boilerplate down to here where you want to fill in your project. So this will fail because it's saying your project because that's a placeholder. So what you want to do is go up to the project, pull down, and find the ID, the project ID, which happens to match the name here, but normally it'll be different. So grab that, fill that in, paste that in, and set your region here. And then you'll set these parameters. And these actually, this is another fix I have to make. These actually should simply be taken from the default settings above, but I'm going to leave them alone now, except that I'm going to use temperature 0.5. There's our check function. Here's our generate function. Everything is the same in terms of we're getting the all the variables we care about. Check args, lang. We're getting all the variables we care about from the URL. We are formatting the prompt. And now we add an additional call. We say model.predict, which takes the prompt and actually talks to the model. Then we get the response from the model and we put it out into the HTML. So now we're actually taking the arguments, putting them into the prompt, formatting the prompt, sending it to the model, getting the response from the model, and displaying it on the screen. So let's see how that works. Again, all we have to do is refresh the browser. Now you'll notice this suddenly got slow. And I think you can guess why. LLMs are slow. This is one of the downsides of using them, and it's just a fact of life. And I think of it as like we're at the beginning of a new world where we have all this power and all this functionality, but the performance isn't as good as we might like it to be. So there are a lot of different ways to work around that, but for now, just know that these requests take time, and so you want to make them asynchronous often. You want to give user feedback that I'm working on it. I haven't died and gone to sleep or anything, and you want to do batching as well, where you put a bunch of things together in groups so you get the best bang for the round trip that you make to the LLM. So this did actually generated a reasonable looking JSON quiz. Let's try another topic. One thing that didn't work is lang equals French. So I have a feeling I made a mistake somewhere in there. We can take a look at that. But let's try a different topic. Let's say literature. And we'll leave lang equals French. It's probably being ignored. Again, it's going to take a few seconds. So the topic is being respected. Actually, it is seeing the language French, but it's sort of making the topic about French things rather than giving me the French language. And so let's take a look at our prompt and see if we can figure out why that might be the case. Sorry, I keep forgetting to make this big. Output should be, yeah, language lang. Okay, I think I should say I'm using like the variable names in the prompt, which isn't going to make much sense to the generator. So I'm going to say, again, this is like I'm talking to a person. So I'm going to say number of questions. I'm going to say difficulty level, and I'm going to say language rather than lang. And let's try and see if that does better. No, doesn't seem to have. So your prompt may be better than mine. I think the one I used earlier did this better. Let's try one last thing, spoken or written language. Or no, I think it's like the quiz should be about this language, and that's not what I mean. What I mean is that generate a quiz in lang. I want the quiz in the desired language. So I think putting it in that list of criteria is sort of telling the LLM this should be about French or about English or whatever. And that's not really what I mean. It's sort of like a deeper thing I'm trying to convey. So let's see if this does better. And I got a syntax error. Generate a quiz in lang. Okay, I think. Okay, put a comment if you see what I'm missing, because I'm obviously missing something here. Generate a quiz in lang according to the following specifications. Single brace encountered. So there must be a single close brace somewhere.
Is it in that line where it says output should be only an uncoded? Is it in that line somewhere?
I don't see it. Let me keep looking. Very weird. I'm assuming it's something here. I'm going to change this to hard code it just for a second. And let's see if I at least get the error to go away. Looks like that's going to work because it's taking more time. Yeah, okay. And I said in French, but it still didn't do it in French. So I'm not going to, if I debug this, then we're going to spend whatever time left while you watch me flail about, and I don't think you'll get as much out of it. So you may be doing better than me. If you're generating quizzes and you've gotten to this point in your app and you're actually getting quizzes to come out in the language you wanted or not, put a thumbs up in the chat just so I can get a sense of how people are doing. Try a different port number. I think my port is coming in. Yeah, I think I'm using port 8080. But let's leave it for now. I'll try to figure it out later. But this is really kind of typical of interacting with these models. Is sometimes it kind of gets what you're asking, but not totally, and you have to just sort of feel your way along. Address is already in use. So people are reporting 8080 is in use by another program, but I don't think I'm seeing that.
It's not in your case, Mark. It's
okay.
yeah.
Running. Okay, yeah. All right, I'm going to resist the urge to debug this now because it's what I want to do, but it's not what's best for all of you. So let's keep going. Back to the code lab. Yeah, so we got a quiz. That's good. Now, you can try altering the quiz as I did to play around with the topic and the number of questions and all that kind of stuff, and you should see that all works as expected. Now, the next thing we want to do is go to the cloud. And let me just do a quick time check. We were 2 to 3:45. So I think I'm down to 10 minutes left. So I'm going to probably pick up the pace a little bit here. But what I want you to do is go into your same folder, and I want you to say new file. And we're going to create a file called proc file with a capital P. And this is simply telling Cloud Build what we want it to do in terms of automatically generating a container for us. So we're going to put the one line in there, web python3 main.py. This is telling it it's a web app, and this is how to run it when it builds the container for us. There's a lot of magic going on here that I'm not going into, but there's a code lab I've written called dev to prod with development to production with Cloud Run, which I link to in the code lab. So I recommend that if you want to get a look at that. Next, what we want to do is run this gcloud run command. So we'll go back to the terminal. Whoops. We'll break out of the local server. And we'll run this Cloud Run command. This is saying, take the source from the current directory, generate a container, send it up to Cloud Run, well, build it first, then take the output, send it to Cloud Run, and allow unauthenticated access, meaning I want this to be publicly available to everyone without having to log into a Google account first. So let's wait for that to happen. And I'll move ahead while that's going on. That's going to output a URL, and we'll come back to that. But the final step is we're going to use that URL with the app that I showed you right at the beginning. So in a separate window, or tab rather, I'm going to replace this tab I was doing my testing with by going to the quizaic.com app. I'm going to say create. I'll call this quiz, I don't know. I'll do Olympics. And where I choose the quiz generator, I'm going to say custom. And then I'm going to put my URL right here. But for now, I'm going to specify the topic as Olympics. We'll leave it multiple choice, 5 questions, intermediate, and English. And we're just now waiting for this. And in case I run out of time, well, I don't think I will, but if you don't get through this by the end, all you're going to do is take the URL that gets generated from this. That's telling you where your quiz generator is running on Cloud Run. And we're going to paste it into this field, the custom generator URL. And we'll click Save Quiz, and we should be able to see your quiz generator actually generating something useful for this app. I'm just going to pause while I wait for this to happen, and I'm sure you're seeing the delay here as well. Does anybody have any questions at this point that haven't been answered in the chat?
I see in the chat that one of them, or maybe a few of them, got the parameterized language thing to work. So that's a good thing. There are also a few people who are stuck at step 5 where they're not able to refresh it. So that's what I recommend. Just copy the main.py content from step 5, Vaishnavi, and then try that. If you're still not able to get it to work, just follow along and see what we're doing right now. And probably you can watch the recording or follow the code lab after the session too. So don't just be stuck there. Don't worry about it. You'll be able to finish it after.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, my web is not updating. It's still showing hello world. You do have to refresh the browser. If it's still not changing after you refresh the browser, then it might be that you didn't start the Python, the Flask server with that debug option. And then I see people are saying, you know, port 8080 is in use by another program. If you're running locally, and you run that server more than once, that will happen. So you want to make sure that you're only running it once at a time. And if you do that minus debug thing, you can leave one version running and it should automatically reload the server side code every time you change it. So this finished, and you can actually click on this link. And what you're seeing now is that exact app we've been working on together, only it's being served publicly. And because I said allow unauthenticated, you can access it as well. And you can see because I didn't give it any parameters, it just gave me a quiz with all the default settings. Now, why is it about French? Because I hard-coded French because I couldn't debug that problem. So I now have a quiz that only thinks in French, or thinks about French things, which is weird. But you can imagine that if I get rid of that hard-coded language, things will be better. Let's just verify one or two things. Instead of 5 questions, let's say 3 questions, ampersand. So I start with a question mark, numq equals 3. Use whatever settings you want. I always like playing with topic equals cricket. Now this is exactly what we were doing earlier in Cloud Console, except now it's actually running publicly in Cloud Run. Anyone anywhere can access this. What's the name of the largest cricket stadium? And despite the hard-coded French, it didn't seem to get confused about that. But okay, so now we know this is kind of working. Let's take the URL without the query parameters, and let's paste it into the custom URL field and click Save. And here's my thing. We'll see if it works. It may not. And it failed, of course. So now I'll have to debug it, maybe because of something about the output. One thing that you can do when you go to Quizaic is you can say Quizaic/quizzes, and you'll get the, actually, sorry, you'll use the server side URL. So the Cloud Run, no, that's not true. Yeah, I guess one way we could debug this would be to look at the JavaScript console. And we see that when it starts up, it fetches the generators and the quizzes. And so here's the quizzes. And one of those quizzes is bad. So I'll have to figure out what's wrong with that. And you may experience that as well. Let me know. I see, it looks like some of you got a successful quiz to go, because I see some new ones. I see some are just kind of spinning. Give me a thumbs up if you got a quiz to work, and give me a thumbs down if you ended up like me and didn't actually get it working. Looks like a mix. Not too many people got there, but looks like a mix. So I can quickly, let's see where we are. We have 3 minutes left. I can quickly show you how you can debug this. So all of these, all of the data for this app is stored in Firestore. So if I go to the default Firestore database, here's the quizzes. So it's a little hard to find mine exactly. I think it was Cricket. This probably is it. And it's got a custom request. Yeah, so actually I'm going to have to look at the log for this to tell what went wrong. I guess the best way to do this would be to see the output from the generator and see if it didn't match the expected results. Maybe the format is bad. So there's a couple of things I want to add to my app. One is to tell you more about why the quiz didn't get generated properly. So I'll be adding that soon. Sorry it didn't work for some of you, including myself, but I hope that this was still a useful learning experience for you, and you got a sense for, interacting with some of these language models using Cloud Run in order to make your stuff available, and also kind of integrating Cloud Run into a more comprehensive environment. I really feel like the LLM stuff and the AI stuff is so exciting, but it doesn't live by itself, right? Like, you don't just make an AI app and you're done. You have to figure out how to tie it together with other infrastructure, like a database and a compute engine and so on. And so that's really what I'm excited about at the moment, is figuring out how to use the LLM, leverage this stuff to make cool apps. So I hope this gives you a little bit of inspiration for that. And I'm open to questions if anybody wants to ask any anything further. But this is probably this is about as much of material as I had for today. There is a cleanup I should mention to make sure you don't get charged for anything beyond this lab. And there's a call to action in case you're interested in Google Cloud Innovators Program. And yeah, reach out, mco@google.com, if I can help you with anything. There were a number of little bugs that you saw me fixing on the fly, like the line parameter was missing, and I will be fixing the code lab as soon as possible right after this session.
Yeah, I see a few folks confirming that they were able to get their app working on Quizaic.
Awesome. Yeah, I might have just hacked my prompt too much, but
too much.
I definitely need to add more user help when the quiz fails to generate. So that's a good action item for me.
That's cool, Mark. But yeah, this is very interesting session. Show of thumbs, how many of you were able to get at least to the point where you're able to deploy it in Cloud Run and get the questions generated, the JSON structure generated, even if not deployment till the last step? Yeah. So there's a lot of folks who got there, which is the main crux of the essence of the session itself. The rest is something that you can complete at your own time, and follow the code lab is pretty clear. And there is no errors there that I can see. We don't have to debug. And yeah, please connect in Discord. Those who are able to successfully complete, please connect in Discord so you can share your responses, because not all of us will be always available to answer, so it'll be really helpful. And Mark, there was also a question on the chat asking for us to talk about Gemini a little bit. You just want to give a... You're here, it'll be great to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw the blog article, there are 3 versions of Gemini coming out. There's Gemini Nano, I think it's called, which is for like small memory devices, like a mobile phone or a tablet. And I'm interested in seeing how that works in the browser, because one of the cool things I want to do with this app is to try generating the quizzes client side, like right in your browser. And so having a model like Gemini Nano might be something I can do there locally. And that way you don't need to actually request anything from the cloud. So there's no cost and there's no delay. There's no latency for making a round trip to the cloud. Then the mid-range model is called Gemini Pro. And I think that's sort of like the more kind of standard model that you should use for most use cases if you want to have like a client server type environment. And then the Gemini Ultra is like the high-end version where it's for, you know, serious production enterprise use for more complex tasks. Yeah, so I haven't actually played too much with Gemini because it's so new, but I'm definitely hoping to integrate it with Quizaic and see how the quizzes look. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that, Mark. And one other thing I would say you can look forward to, or definitely start trying your hands around trying building apps or even sample demos and other things, is multimodal support with Gemini. So with you probably might have used Imagine in the past. We actually had one of our Code Vipassana sessions this season where I was the speaker. I was talking about building an application using Imagine. So remember how we did uploading or describing a prompt and asking it to generate images, relevant images to it. Similarly, we also saw some cases in the Generative AI Studio, how you upload a particular image and get some description or content, caption the image and stuff like that. But with Gemini, you can go one step further, upload multiple images, upload images and text, and ask specific questions, ask comparison between multiple images, search or see if an image matches with a set of images that you're providing. So there's so many different use cases and video related use cases that you can do with Gemini. So that is multimodal support is something that I'm definitely looking forward to. So if you ask me, that would be one thing that I'm really waiting to try my hands on. I've done a few samples just to play around with it as today, but yeah, more you'll hear more from us, and probably we'll have one whole season dedicated to Gemini, Duet AI, and other things going into 2024. Thanks a lot for asking that question, though, because we are also as excited as you are, and it's as new as it is for you, to us as well. And one thing is that this is the last session for Code Vipassana for season 4 as well as for 2023. And I mean, a virtual session, of course, we have a couple of in-person sessions coming up along with the Dev Fest, but that's this week itself. We have one, and we have 2 sessions this week itself. So we'll be done by 10th December. We'll be completing our season 4. And I'm so glad to have Mark in our last virtual session for the season. And that's really amazing. And thanks a lot, Mark, for that. And do you want, I mean, I know that you wanted to ask a few quiz questions towards the end and play around with it. If you have a deployed version, or do you want one of the developers who had completed it to show the quiz app and ask a few questions, because we can stay around for like 10 more minutes.
We can try. I was having a little trouble on mobile this morning, so might or might not work, but let me see if it works. What's a good topic? Anybody want to propose a topic in the chat?
Maybe we can do the generative AI studio. We did 7 sessions of Code Vipassana for season 4. I mean, they should be able to take quiz on it, right, folks?
Yeah, I don't know how good the Palm generator will do with that, but we can try it. Let me do. I'm not going to use my custom thing because it's broken. I'm going to use Palm.
Yeah, while you're looking, there are a few folks who are asking about the result submission for this session. So what you need to submit as screenshot is if you were able to successfully deploy the app and get your app running on Quizake, then share that screenshot. If not, if you got to deploy it in Cloud Run and get the JSON list on your browser, that's fine too. Share that. One of these two is acceptable. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Alvin.
Doesn't seem to like Generative AI Studio. I think it maybe is a little too specific.
Maybe we can, anything, literature? No, literature is too. I don't know if everyone would enjoy that topic. Or cricket? Do you want to go for cricket?
Cricket sport.
Movies are good too. Again, yeah.
What Bollywood? Movies. Okay. Share my screen. Okay, I got a quiz. Let's start it. Host. So when I run a quiz, are you all seeing my screen?
Yes.
So when I run a quiz, I have the ability to specify some parameters at runtime, like how much time per question, and I'll make that shorter, 15 seconds. And then I can start hosting. So try, now this may or may not work because I was running into some trouble, but try connecting to that QR code. It should prompt you to enter your name. So Mark and Alfie are playing. That's good.
Anuj, MK, cool. Scan the QR code and join the quiz. We may surprise you guys.
And if you want to use a browser, just go to this URL, quizake.com/play/999.
Yeah, I'm on my phone. I just scanned it. You could do either.
Okay, we have 9 registered players. I'll go ahead and 10, 11. I'll wait a second. 12. Oh, we're getting more. So what was happening to me earlier is when the question was presented, I was getting a blank screen on the mobile, but not on the web. So this may be a bust, but we'll see. Okay, I'm going to say start quiz. If you register later, you'll get automatically added.
How many? What was your maximum registered player so far with this app, Mark?
I think I had about 70 at one event.
Okay, cool.
So let's start the quiz. I'm getting the blank screen on my phone. Are you guys?
I'm getting a blank screen on my phone. Do you recommend going on the?
Yeah, try the browser is probably a better option. Sorry about that.
Try the browser. Yeah, just put the link on the chat. So let's connect from our browser.
There it is.
Cool.
Now, yeah, you may have to put in a new name. Just put a 2 after your name or something. It may tell you you're already registered if you use the same name.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Look, I'm not getting the blank screen, but some people are. I have a feeling it may be the size of your window or something like that, but I'll have to debug this. Sorry about that. I think
No
we'll
worries.
call this a call this a day.
Sounds good. Sounds good, Mark. No worries. So, yeah, those who are able to, you're able to see that, right? Those, yeah, I didn't get the page yet, but let me try it afterwards, Mark.
Okay.
Those who are able to complete, and like I said, the screenshots for your results, please feel free to submit that in the form from codevipassana.dev. So you have all the details, the submission details also on the site, codevipassana.dev. Go ahead and submit that. Please don't share the screenshots in Discord. No one's looking for that there. So please submit it. The form link is available in the website, Alvin. You can go to codevipassana.dev and find the link, submission link in the page itself. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And we have the last 3 minutes. I just want to recognize the leads. If you can turn your camera on and just come show your faces before we wind up the season. Just say a word or two about, not a word, sorry, but a few lines about yourself, and then what you enjoy being part of Code Vipassana core team, because without your support, we couldn't get this far. So Mark, these are all, they are our community developer leads who've been supporting Code Vipassana since season 2 or 3. Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah. So let's see. Leads, just raise your hand. So I'll go through the list of raised hands one by one. Bharat.
Hi guys, I am Bharat, Code Vipassana community lead, who is in full stack development. So I want to thank you all for participating in our session. This was a great experience for all of us in community building and creating this wonderful environment for learning. And I think in this landscape of coding where we see logics and algorithm always, exploring into Gen was a great adventure for myself and for all of you guys. Um, as this season's come to end, we still think we will come back soon with an amazing and even bigger Code Vipassana season 5, and the project Sadhana will keep on going. Will be going on where we will be implementing your Google Cloud ideas and publishing them in the Google Cloud publication in Medium. So thank you all for participating.
Thanks, Bharat. Sneha, Sarvesh, you want to go next? Sorry, I'm just going in the order that the hand was raised.
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. Sorry, my camera is kind of giving me internet issues. So, I'm a third year undergraduate student and I'm currently in hostel, which causes the net issues. So, Code Vipassana has actually helped me a lot and explore into GCP and all the different utilities that it can achieve. So, I am more of an AI and ML guy. And with this, it actually helped me go focus more on deployment and make it more usable to to like widen the people who can use my applications and kind of explore more about deployments. So yeah, it has been an amazing journey so far, and everyone is truly helpful. Every session is just amazing to us as it is to you all. We also learn alongside everyone, and it's a amazing learning curve for us. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sarvesh. Sneha?
Hey all, myself Sneha. I'm from Kerala. I'm a final year CSC student here at Kerala. And this time for this season, I've mainly done the designing part for posters, etc., for the social media handles and all. And yeah, for the season, we've got amazing speakers and got an amazing team who everybody is inspiring each other. And it was amazing to uh, be part of the team. Yeah, I'm looking forward for the next season and see you all there.
Thank you, Sneha. Orko?
Okay, hi, I'm Orko. I'm a full stack engineer with close to 4 years of experience now. And like, being part of Code Vipassana has been really great. So, I mostly handle the Instagram page for Code Vipassana, making reels and all that stuff. And other than that, being a full stack developer, this season was very helpful because I was able to delve into AI. Even the previous season was also very helpful. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to learning new things and building new things with this wonderful community that's there. So yeah, and also being part of such a community helps because a lot of times when you are trying to figure things out just by yourself, things can feel very intimidating and scary to start with. But when there are such sessions and there is a community of people out there, so you feel more encouraged and things seem easier to kind of do. Like it feels that yeah, I can achieve the things. So yeah, that's about me, and I'm really really grateful to Abhirami for giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely, Orko. Thanks for sharing. Ruby?
Hey, hi everyone. This is Ruby Verma. I'm recently part of this Code Vipassana, like for this season, and it been a wonderful journey for me. I'm actually a mobile developer, and I have around 13 years of experience in that domain. So GCP and this Gen AI was new for me. So I learned a lot along with you all, and you've been a wonderful participants. And thank you, Abhirami, for this opportunity. Looking forward for season 5. Thank you.
Sure, Ruby. Thank you. Karan?
Thank you all for being so supportive throughout the Kodipasna season, and it has been a great learning journey as with everyone. Gen AI, of course, has been talk of the market, and Kodipasna is the only program that I have seen that we are actually building problem statements and solutions here. And right now, I will say, like, if you are a part, you are attending, and you have also listened to Mark's talk today, like it's really how easy the demonstration is, how easy it is for everyone to follow. It really builds up the confidence. I really appreciate for everyone to give time, and thank you, Abhirami, for joining me with this initiative.
Definitely. Thanks, Karan. Kiran?
Here, I'm very sorry I don't have my webcam set up. But yeah, I mean, being part of Code Vipassana is a true honor. I think more than the sessions, what really matters is you get to use some of these technology services in GCP and then build on it. So whatever Mark told you today is a starting point, and you get to connect all these discrete dots together and build some amazing solutions together. And that's the power of Code Vipassana. And hopefully this is going to continue for a very long time. So this is starting. So see you all soon in the next season.
Thanks, Kiran. And we have Mohan, but I don't see you raise your hand. But Mohan, if you're around, just...
Yeah. This is Mohan Mahesh, currently pursuing computer science and engineering at Singapore University, and I'm very grateful for being part of this podcast. And it was amazing, amazing sessions, and I have learned many things from our speakers. And thank you for giving this opportunity for Abhirami ma'am. I was very grateful to be a part of this podcast. Thank you.
Thanks. Our leads are being very modest. The thing is that without their help, we wouldn't be able to scale this as much as we have done. Of course, Google's support, definitely. They are the ones who we are building the content and coming up with the code labs and making all this plan. But without you, we cannot scale and reach. And you set examples. And the leads have actually, one thing I would like to announce here is that all the leads have presented, most of our leads have presented sessions in DevFest, hands-on, in the topics of generative AI. They've taken our code labs from season 4, and some have built their own labs and own applications and taken it to different DevFests, enabling us to scale the activation even further, enablement and empowering the developers even further. So that is really phenomenal, and I really want to take this opportunity to appreciate all of them. And this is purely voluntary. This is purely out of interest, and I really thank everyone. And everything we do is in association with GDG Cloud Kochi so far. Like they'll be the ones who will provide the e-certificate and the whatever it's called, that you can showcase in your LinkedIn platforms and all for completion. So they are the ones who are providing it. And Kiran is the head from the community side for doing all that for Code Vipassana from the community side partnership. So that was really something I wanted to call out here. And I see a few hands up. I want to give you an opportunity also, Vaishnavi, to speak. And we also have some consistent participants. Maybe there are a lot of consistent participants, but I want to give an opportunity to 3 or 4 folks. In the interest of time, we'll stop at 9:40. We have 4 more minutes. But yeah, please go ahead, Vaishnavi, just say. And then I want to give Manikant and MK an opportunity to speak, Mahendra an opportunity to speak, and there was one more who I identified, who attend consistently, even though you're not part of the core team. I have seen you time and again. And if I missed any of the leads, please raise your hand. I'll come back to you. Vaishnavi, yes, I know that you wanted to share something. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, myself Vaishnavi. So I'm a second year student, and this was my first time attending Code Vipassana. I have completed all the courses like from 1 to 5, and the 6th I got an error, and I don't know why it is. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I'm very appreciating your what we say that you have taught me that what is AI, and I'll surely pursue something more and will like to be a part of Code Vipassana. Thank you.
It's awesome, Vaishnavi. Thanks for sharing that with us. MK, do you want to share?
Yeah, hi. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the sessions so far. I mean, I wouldn't have, known about this in the first place if, we didn't get the chance to work together. But then I also had the opportunity to meet you in person as well. So yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to attend all the sessions this season because of work, but I plan to complete the initial code labs this weekend, hopefully. And I look forward to the next season.
Thank you so much, MK. Mahindra, if you're interested. No, not trying to put you on the spot.
Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for this session, which been with the Vipassana from the last previous session too, and I enjoyed thoroughly the nature, the way of interaction, the way of labs that has been collaborated or hosted, or the journey. The only part which, uh, well, maybe it could be some of the scenarios, but the hands-on sessions, I'm a bit of way far from that. I don't do a hands-off session easily, but well, I do listen, observe, and get hands dirty. But yeah, the way I tried interacting with the people, with the resources, which gave me more details into the AI and the ML concepts and the PALM concepts, which helped me a lot. And love to be with this Vipassana session. If there is an opportunity where I can get into it, do something, for the community, that will help.
Absolutely.
That's all from my end. Thanks for this.
I'll definitely consider that. Thanks, Mahindra. Anyone else wants to go? Just one last call. If anyone wants to speak, I just don't want you to feel like you weren't given an opportunity. So please raise your hand. If not, we'll call it night. Namrita, one last person we'll hear from. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I have been looking into Code Vipassana for the last 2 sessions, and I've seen how this community has been growing, and the Discord has been really helpful because right now I'm in my 4th year, and I have been doing GCP labs from my 1st year or even before college. So I always found it hard initially. So the community is a really community effort here, and the collaboration is really helpful. And I can see that a lot of people are getting into, are able to understand cloud and AI in a much easier way. So I'm really grateful for this community and really want to thank the team and everyone for this great work. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Namrata. Bazid, this is really the last. I'm so sorry. I saw only one person. I don't want to miss you. Yeah.
Thanks for giving the opportunity. I really love the way of like the LLMs, Generative, which we are doing. Cloud Vipassana. It's amazing. Why I'm saying amazing, I've been working to the multi-cloud. I'm a kind of like a multi-cloud architect and generative AI, which I'm actually working, but the kind of like information which is giving it, I really chill because the workshops are pretty crisp and clear, which and the sessions are like very deep insights. So I really love, and yeah, definitely I wanted to contribute as well to the community. I wanted it to grow much faster and rapid space, and we can show them like what we are into the global industry. Yeah, thanks for giving the opportunity.
Thanks a lot, Bazid. Really appreciate that. So folks who have expressed interest in being a part of the Code Leads team, definitely reach out to one of us. If you can go to Code Vipassana page on LinkedIn, and you could find us all there. Tagged in many of the posts, probably we'd be active there. So please feel free to reach out to us there. We'll just talk to you and find out where you'd fit in. And if we have an opportunity, definitely we'll extend that to you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Mark, for staying patiently with us through the entire session and even the after party right now. So thanks a lot for that.
My pleasure. Really nice community. And thank you for inviting me, Avi.
Absolutely, Mark. All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye. The recording will be available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.